Excellent. Good morning, everybody. Mike Wright from Edge Home Finance. I am beyond excited to have an amazing lady who you are going to get to know deep. Candice Amundson from EXP as a Realtor of the Week.
Thank
you very much. Yeah,
it's an honor.
Oh, I truly appreciate getting to know you. Since we've talked, it's just fantastic to see your energy and what's made you rock.
Yeah.
How do you like the biz?
I love it. I think it's awesome. And, as time goes on and year after year, there's other challenges that come across and, and I just find my way through it. And I think getting into a niche has been the way to really go and, just learn and niche down, I think is the answer. So.
I love it. I think that, and we'll dive into this deeper as we go. But tell us a little bit about your background. You got this deal on your website, which is fantastic. Boy Mom.
Yeah.
Give us the lowdown on that.
Yeah, so I'm a single parent, and my son is 12 now,
Wow.
and we have 2 dogs, so they keep me busy. And I would say I kind of got started out. I first was born in southern Minnesota and was in Winona, and I moved up to the cities after college and started in the veterinary industry. So I started working with animals in emergency situations and ended in poison control. Got a lot of experience. I learned a lot about how to communicate with people because you can't communicate with animals. And so I had to learn how to educate people early on. And I think that I just reached a cap. I said, the most I can make is $45,000 a year, and there's more. So I decided to, look into what I thought would be kind of interesting. I always thought houses were interesting, more the architect side of it, like how they're so diverse and, the different, Frank Lloyd Wright was probably one of the first ones that caught my eye into real estate, and I thought, oh, this is really cool. So then I decided to go to school and become a realtor.
Nice.
And that's what I did.
And how long ago was that?
That was in 2019.
Wow, fantastic. And so surviving that first year or two, how was that?
It was tough. It was really tough. It was definitely more of a buyer's market. So sellers were on the market long. They were willing to do just about every laundry list of inspection items and pay for your closing costs. It was hard to sell a house then. It was easy as a buyer's agent. You got really strategic. So that was a trick. Then we kind of, then I remember getting into the COVID time, and it started out really scary, and then it was amazing, of course. So it was a contrast to have one and then the other, and then where we are today too.
It's so cool that you get exposed to this, right? Because many people just got in when rates are 2 or 3, and they're thinking this is the greatest thing ever. Right? This business is a tough business. I know you and I talked off the video about the consistency and the persistency and your mentorships. And so how did you end up at EXP?
I ended up at EXP. I was originally on, I was solo agent, then on a team for a short period of time. And she came to me and said, I've decided to make a change. I'm going to follow this person. And she said, you don't need to come with me. You can stay at, Keller Williams was my previous brokerage. And I had nothing bad to say about where I was. I looked at the opportunity as, this mentorship and the idea of collaboration. And I thought, that's kind of cool. So then I met Carrie Briner. And so she's out in Idaho. And she was originally here in Minnesota. So she started her business up. She's an amazing woman, and she became my inspiration. And I thought, if I can have free coaching, what could go wrong, right? So I also learned about the other benefits that EXP has. And so everybody has a different reason they're there, whether it's healthcare or the stocks or, the opportunity for the revenue share and things like that. So I decided to go for it. And, since then, I want to say it's been 2 years now I've been with EXP. And my business has more than quadrupled since then.
It's so cool because Carrie is a prime example where literally I just sat back and she talked, and the passion that you guys have is so cool, and it just becomes so evident on why you're good at what you do.
Yeah, it shows. Yeah.
So tell me about your part of the Growth Collaborative. I mean, you've got all these different people. Are you engaged in that, or do you kind of want to stay by yourself, or what? How do you handle all that?
Yeah, the Growth Collaborative is a local group of us here in Minnesota, in the kind of the northwestern part of the suburbs. Yeah. And so we meet 2 times a month in Rogers at a co-working space. So it's kind of neat. There's other business owners and businesses that are there. Yeah. So we get to meet other people, and we get to collaborate. There are solo agents. There are agents on teams. So I do attend those meetings. It's good to kind of hear what's going on. We also do a lot of off-marketing kind of work together. So we are the first ones to know of any off-market opportunities, and between the 20 plus agents, there's usually a good 5 or 6 at any given time. So it's really nice to have that. And also, I'm part of a global network, which is called the Worley Real Estate Network. And Jeremy Worley, Kelly Worley out in Branson, Missouri, head that. So they are my mentors and coaches now, and I'm very active with them as well. Even though we're far apart, I still feel like I'm part of the team. And we do Zooms, very often. I also invest in a data tool that Jeremy Worley and Erica have created together. Yeah. So that's how I stand out as a realtor with the data. I call myself the data-backed agent. So I've kind of leaned on the Worley network to teach me everything about short-term rentals, mid-term rentals, and how to, really market this market here in Minneapolis, because we have such an opportunity in our local backyard.
The mentorship, friendships that you have are amazing, right? You just go through some of these people. Now you've got from the young cats, 18, 19, 20, 21, up to the experienced people.
Yeah.
And you feed off it and you absorb, don't you?
Yeah, it's really neat. And then also the other members that are part of it. So one person that also is very close to me is Peter Passetto out in New York. Yeah. He was a former Bold coach, and he coaches and runs his own system now that he has, a CRM system. So, it's kind of neat that we have these built-in people on the team, and there's everybody on the bus. We have a person for everything, and we all fit together nicely. And it's nice to have somebody to trust out in New York, or North Carolina is another city that I have a connection with. Sure. And there's a lot of vacation rentals happening, so it's nice to have people that we have all the same standard and who we trust in our network to be able to refer people, so you can really diversify your profile.
Get licensed down in Florida. Let's go.
Yeah.
Start expanding down there. So you've got a dear friend of ours, Jake and I interviewed Ashley.
Yes.
Right? Transaction coordinator.
Yes.
And now you've also got a virtual assistant?
Yes.
Good. Tell us about that whole expansion.
Yeah. So I've always had my transaction coordinator and Ashley Caller. So it's Transaction Exchange. I actually work more closely with Shara, who is a person on her team. Okay. Amazing. She's very attention to detail. She's good with lists. So she's exact opposite of me, which is what I need so that I can get things done. Yes. She's very good at timelines and things too. So that is a must in my business. Yeah. And with EXP, we don't have an admin fee. So we are able to charge our own admin fee, which covers that fee. Yeah. So it really doesn't make any sense why you wouldn't have that. I do feel like a person that is a fresh agent that's only had one transaction should probably go through the paperwork and understand the process maybe like once or twice. But after that, I would say there's no need for you to be doing that. You could be out in front of people, making new friends, and expanding your business.
So do you have, I know one of the control things that, whether it's loan officers or agents, I want to control it all. Me. Yeah. Is that a hard thing for you to let go?
For me, a little bit, not as much as some people I've known. It happened more when I hired my VA, because she's in the Philippines. Yep. And so there was a little bit of barrier with sometimes, English, or sometimes with just how we speak, or how we do social media. Yes. So for instance, she would say real estates with an S at the end of it. And I'm like, that's not something we would say, and to me it was a little frustrating, but I thought, okay, if I can really just take a step back and train this person how I want them to be and give them my vibe and how things are done, then it shouldn't be a problem. This person can learn. So it was like a little learning curve, but it was hard for me to let go of things, because there were like little sometimes grammatical errors, or things that I wouldn't naturally do or say. So it was a little hard, but after I just recognized that this is an opportunity to train somebody to be who I would be, and just an extension of me. And then it got easier. So it was hard at first, though.
But I think that's reality of our businesses, right? So when you came into this business 4 years ago, 5 years ago, all of a sudden you're getting taught by some of the best in the world, country, whatever. You make mistakes, right? And so it's putty, mold you into the amazing person you are now.
Yeah.
Do you, so we had talked briefly about when you get into this business, you can make some money, right? And you can succeed. Is it hard to be consistent and persistent at what you do? I mean, you start making some paychecks. I'll take a week off. This is easy. I'm good. Is it hard?
Yeah, of course that's happened, I think, to every realtor. If they're honest, I think so. Yeah. And, and what level it happens is very different. For me, about a year ago this time, I had a moment where it was a pause. And I think it was, looking back, it was because I got a little comfortable. I thought, well, things are rolling in. It's totally fine. And then, 4 months later, I'm looking back going, the last 90 days, I haven't been doing anything. This is exactly where I am now. Yeah. So when you feel that pain and you get to that level, then you're like, I've got to either make a change, learn a skill, do something. If I want something I've never had, I need to do stuff I've never done. So it just makes or breaks you, I think.
I think that's where that mentorship come into play as well. Because when you're down like that, I've got a great friend of mine who is at EXP, and she had a horrible day. Horrible. But she had coaching at 4:00. And she said, hell with it. I'm not doing coaching today. I'm sick and tired.
Yeah.
But her husband said, no. Today is where you need the coaching to get you through those little humps.
Yeah. And I've been there too. I've had probably about 3 different coaches and then 2 mentors, I would say. So, you have to have different coaches at different times of your life, and mentorship and things like that. As you evolve and you change, you're going to require different mentors and coaches. So it happens. And I think it is a great compliment to those coaches and mentors when you get your wings and fly away, because they really feel like they've done their job, So I just, you're right. You have to go. Like sometimes you physically don't feel like doing it, or, I look like whatever today. Just get on the Zoom anyway and just do it,
Well, and I think that's and I joke about it often, is that this was a big step. Jake was very instrumental in me doing this stuff. Yeah. Right? Because you kind of get in this mode, oh God, I talk like this, I look like this. Who cares? People love you for what you are. Yeah. But I think that getting back to some of these coaching and trainings and role playings, working the systems that are set up for you that you're working on now to get set up are critical.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's how you get to that next level. So what is your game plan? Are you going to expand a team, keep yourself, play, how do you want to grow?
Yeah, so my goal is I do really believe in being an investor agent. And when you are an investor agent, you just have more credibility because you're going through it and you've experienced it. Yeah. So I'm going to continue to keep practicing what I preach and build my portfolio. I've done some diversifying so far, and I've put in some investment into out-of-state projects, but I haven't done anything in my own backyard. So my next step's going to be getting 2 properties this year. Good. And of course, they're going to be short-term or mid-term rentals, and just kind of to show where you can start. My goal is to find a property that needs a little bit of uplift, using my data tool to really figure out how I can increase nightly rates, increase my cap rate. So that's one thing I'm really passionate about, is kind of showing how you can get there. Sometimes people are so stuck on they don't have the money to do it. Right. Well, right. I also want to show people how you can buy real estate without any of your own money and using private money. Yes. It sounds silly. It sounds like, but there are a lot of people out there that have underperforming with their, whatever portfolio they have, and it's underwhelming them. And they would love to pull money out and put it into something. And if you have a passionate person like myself that believes in the data, that believes in, the strategy that you can create behind that, then why wouldn't you want to get a better return on your money, So
I think that, obviously you still represent buyers, you still represent sellers, but you've got an amazing niche right now, because this passive income from investment properties is key. I mean, especially for the younger generation where, you can't bank on the government. We all know that. Bank on her, right? And learn. So how has that business been? I mean, it's really a cool niche.
Yeah, it's been amazing. So I started subscribing to the InvestTR data tool. Okay. So anybody can subscribe to it. And I started learning the tool. I also paid for coaching from the director and owner of the tool so that I actually coach with them. And what that involves a lot of times is a lot of role playing. So they pretend to be the investor, which really they are investors.
Yeah, right.
And I sell them on my market. And, they've been so impressed that they've offered deals with me. They've offered to refer people out of state to me. So that's where my business has taken off, is getting all these referrals and people that have no idea about the neighborhoods, no idea about Minnesota, but they can see the numbers. They can see why I'm telling them to purchase in one neighborhood. One I just went over was Loring Park. Yeah. You and I both know why in the world would anybody want to go there? Well, why wouldn't they?
Right.
And everybody, it's so diverse, it's pet friendly. Yes. We can go on and on about the iconic cherry on the spoon and the sculpture garden. Of course. Get your best selfie. So we really know that neighborhood. And so when I tell the story to somebody outside of the state, they're immediately hooked because I show the data, the numbers that speak for that, and then I tell the story behind it so that they know exactly who they're going to be referring, who their customer is, how to really get the best strategy. So it really speaks for itself. So then what I'm finding is that my business has grown immensely because I'm working with people that want to buy. It's one person wanting to buy 5 or more properties a year versus one person every 5 years buying one property. Right. So that's how you scale your business is in the quantity, but you have to show why you stand apart from other agents, because why are you different than anyone else?
Well, and I think you hit it on the head. I was just listening to Rene Rodriguez. I don't know if you've heard of him.
I've heard.
He basically had he'd asked people what their favorite color was, blue, green, whatever. Then when they asked him, he elaborated with a story. And so you're more apt to attract to you because you know the area. Why do you want to be there? Yeah. Versus just, your ROI is this, and you're going to get these much rent, etc.
Yeah. The other thing I tell people too is that, most of the investors that come to me are worried about their assets, so they want to be protected and they want to find a deal. So if I can provide a deal and provide them how to protect their assets in any situation, then they're mine. They don't want to do business with anybody else.
Right.
One of the tools that I use is a little emitter detector you can put inside the property. When the decibel goes too high, it will notify you. So if you have neighbors that are complaining about noise, you can, come up with that. So there's always going to be a solution to any kind of problem. And people are always, bringing up so much that you could worry about. What if the cleaner doesn't show up, or what if this? Well, property management is also a big deal.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of, I interview all of our local people as well. So I have a kind of a power team together, and I can say, I've interviewed this company. This is how much you're going to pay for their services. Then there's on this side this company, which you're going to pay more, but this is what you get. And if you want to be hands off, this is the way to go. So I just kind of help people develop a strategy based on the data, based on my specific questions I've asked them, and I've said, well, this person I vetted, I can trust them, And so it really comes down to building that system. You have to have integrity. You have to work with people that you trust. And so you have to put the time in and meet them and talk to them, build the team.
Listen, right? I think that's such a skill. But your attention to the details of all this is amazing. Right? Because so often people say, yeah, I'll represent an investor. Sure, we'll find a rental. Good luck, But your attention and the tools you have are so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think when every person I've sat down with and showed them what this tool can do is just blown away by it. And the fact that they get access to it because of me, I pay for the tool, but they get free access.
Right.
So those are gifts to my investors. I mean, it's not necessarily free. It's something that I do, I put my money into because I really find the importance in it.
Do you, is it hard? How do you balance life, right? Single mom, 2 dogs. Right now, you got a 12-year-old, and hopefully he takes care of some of the dog duties. But how do you keep balance? And then you got social media, then you got, then you got this, and coaching, and how do you keep your life? I mean, you look great. How do you keep your stability? Holy camole.
Yeah, I think it comes down to scheduling and follow your schedule and put things on your schedule first that are the most important. So for me, it's dinner with my son, and sometimes it can get moved. It can be at like 4:30. Sometimes it's a 7:30 dinner, but we do have dinner every night together.
Beautiful.
And I would say also then putting in, what are going to be your highest producing activities. So it might not be the most time consuming activity, but what's going to produce you the most in return. So then I look at, for me, and everybody's different. It all kind of depends on your personality, but I do really great when I'm in person. And so I try to do large groups of people. So I go to investor meetings. I do a lot of investor meetups. There are also fellow, realtors in our local Minneapolis, St. Paul area that do events, sometimes it's like a study on apartment buildings or an Airbnb that's doing well. So I just try to get in the community and just really, partner with those people. They really seem to be great referral partners and also somebody to learn from. So I really just immerse myself there. And then from there, I always put on my schedule in the morning the most important things that I don't really want to do. So usually it's phone calls, which is weird because I'm very, I love to talk to people, but sometimes I think I get on the phone and then I'm spending a long time on the phone. So I've had to set timers for myself and really put boundaries into place. And then, the other thing is vacations. Those are usually the first thing that go on the calendar at the beginning of the year, because we need that. We need to recharge. And a lot of creativity and business ideas come from vacations. You're kind of just dreaming and thinking, and that's where it comes from.
Well, we've got a mutual friend, Tyler Miller, and he's very, very adamant. Wednesday, I'm done. I'm not working. And on his voicemails, I'm not working today. Set the expectations, because you have to. This business can be at 24/7, and then because of your love for your son and all this other stuff, all of a sudden you're up at 3 or 4 in the morning. I love the fact that you acknowledge your strengths, your weaknesses, and you fill in the voids accordingly. We've got probably 900. We're approaching 1,000 people in this group, Realtor Connect, and agents, if you guys need an investor, realtor specialist, obviously, reach out to somebody, because, needless to say, you're okay helping people. Exactly. And I think I do a lot of referral business with even just local realtors as well as outside of the state. So I do pay for referrals. And sometimes I do have some referrals to give out as well. So if you're in other markets, I've had somebody in Arizona, Arkansas. I did even send out a referral to Hawaii and also, to Alaska. So that's really cool. I learned, and funny thing, I learned something when I talked to the Hawaiian, realtor, and I said, so what's kind of different about here and there? You guys are on the island, and they taught me about lava zones and how, you can find a property for really cheap, but then if it's in a lava zone, and I said, oh, that's interesting. So I was Googling what that meant, and then I learned, and I thought, this is exactly why I have partners, because they know all these little details. So an investor that wants to purchase over there, they're handed off to somebody that I, really know. And a lot of times it is with an EXP, but I do have, agent partners that are at other brokerages. I work well with others. It's not, just EXP. It's critical, because we all, including myself, I'll just go get licensed in wherever. Well, it's not as easy as that, right? The title costs are different. The flood zones are different. All this other stuff. Why not just refer it to somebody down there? Then you get a check for whatever you get a check for. For the referral. And Same thing for you, If you guys don't want to specialize in investment properties, that's okay. Boom.
Yeah, just same thing as I don't want to, focus on probate or divorce couples. There's certain things, I love working with elderly people. However, I find that I have the most energy when I'm working with somebody that's their first time investment property, or they're going to own or occupy and kind of have this master plan and goal. So we all work together well. And if we can niche down and have friends and partners for each piece of real estate, I think that's going to serve the investor, the client, whoever the best, you know?
No, it's great. I just closed 2 investor properties, and it's so cool. One was the first time. The other one, it's like it's 6th property, right? Mm-hmm. And it's still gratifying for both people. Yeah. Right?
Well, it's funny. I met this week with a seasoned investor. Yeah. He had 5 long-term properties, and he was like, I'm so curious about short-term. And he was referred to me by his lender. His lender felt like I was going to be the best, agent to work with him. Good. And so very honoring. I think that's probably like the gold star honorable, referral you can get. So when I met with him, he was, very, very seasoned on one end. And then we were talking about different things like how to invest with your self-directed IRA and your retirement funds. Yes. And he was learning the stories, how I've helped people do that and how I do it myself. And he thought, wow, this woman, she really knows what she's doing. Then I showed him my data tool, and I said, this is why it's going to be great to get a property right in the convention center area, right in Minneapolis, a condo, and look at the revenue. And I talked about cap rate, and he was so impressed because a lot of times people talk about your ROI, your gross ROI, your cash on cash. Well, that doesn't tell the whole story. When you add in your cap rate, that's where you take your net operating income divided by your market value. So you could be spending way too much for a house, and your cap rate's going to be 3%. Yep. But if you can get that house for a killer deal and your cap rate can go up to 20%, then that's a great investment. Yeah. It puts into your expense ratio. So a lot of people are getting data that doesn't have that piece. Correct. So, just showing the whole picture to somebody really makes them feel a lot more comfortable in taking the leap. And you have to answer your phone. So they're on the data tool. They're going, hey, what is this? What does this mean? What does OTA stand for? And then I do a Loom video and I say, OTA stands for this. It means basically what, a platform is: Airbnb, Vrbo, bookings, Furnish Finder, whatever that is. Yeah. And they're just like, you're a genius. And I'm like, well, not really. I just learned.
You're just an expert.
Yeah.
I mean, but I say that nonchalantly, but what you just talked about, because I look at Florida. Florida's a big area, short-term versus long-term. Yeah. Right? I always look at long-term as the stable. Now you don't have to worry about it. Right. But short-term is where the rents are bigger. We've got some guys right here, right in Cape Coral, that own properties, and they make hay.
Yeah, they do.
What is the difference? I mean, what do you think would be a number one reason why to do short-term versus long-term?
Well, when I meet with people for the first time, I do a napkin pitch. So I basically take a napkin, I make like a T, on the left side I put LTR for long-term, on the right side I do STR for short-term. And I say, okay, well, if you're getting, $2,000 a month times 12, this is pretty much your cap on what you can make, and then on the other side, I do, usually my standard is 165 nights because it's pretty attainable. That's pretty conservative. Most people can say, okay, so you take your nightly rate, and I have data to show what the actual nightly rate is in that same area. And I use Rentometer on the long term. So I'm using data to compare, and
not
say,
just throwing out numbers.
And it's always like 3 to 4 times more every year. Yeah. And I say, now, why don't you, take, instead of buying cash for one property, why don't you finance 5 properties, put 100,000 in instead of, 500 into one. Yep. And now look at your revenue. We're looking at over $350,000 in revenue. And people's minds are blown, and they're like, how do we do it? So then we sit down and we talk about the plan. And this is how you're going to get there. If you want to manage it. If you want to look at this area, how do I furnish it? Well, I've got a great staging partner that only does short-term rentals. Right. And they come in and they tell you exactly what kind of furniture to buy. So it's functional, it's modern, it's whatever theme you want. And they're like, well, let's go. let's go find a house today.
Yeah.
So sometimes they're here, sometimes they're not even here. So I'm just traveling around the city doing videos, and I'm saying, this is what this looks like, and here's this. And sometimes they never even see the property, and it gets, put on the platforms. And
that's how we bought our place down in Florida that way.
Yeah.
Just as Facebook. Never saw it, sight unseen.
Yep.
Here you go. Okay,
Yeah.
but that's what you have to do. So I'm going to sidetrack it. So they've come out now with the glasses with the camera. I think it's like, the Apple, whatever. I mean, do you use your phone and you're walking around showing the people the property, correct?
Yeah, I usually do that.
Yeah.
I mean, if there was a need to do anything further, I'm sure, but most investors are fine with it.
Of course.
As long as they can kind of see, and then you're walking, to make sure you're checking for any damages or things that are going to need some immediate attention.
TLC. Yep.
Yeah.
Furnace stuff, etc. Well, so I'm going to just end this by, you've got amazing mentors, right? Your knowledge of this business is so cool to listen to. Believe me, we'll be talking. But give me 2 or 3 pieces of advice, whether it's Carrie, whether it's somebody else in your group that you've taken to heart and really flourished on.
Yeah, I think I would say the time on task over time is the way to go. So pick a task and keep doing it consistently over and over, and over time you'll see results. Oftentimes when I started, I will just use one of my most recent examples, is a campaign I started with Deal of the Week. I send out a Deal of the Week to everybody in my sphere, and I identify this property using the MLS and the investor data tool, and I kind of show like, hey, this is a property that's available right now for somebody to buy. This is the average nightly rate, the cap rate, how many bedrooms and bathrooms, and then why it's a great area to invest in. And it took probably about 4 or 5 emails every single week, and every single I did it on social media as well. And then all of a sudden the same week I had 5 phone calls in one day. Nice. From loan officers, mortgage people, investors that were referring to me, and it was so overwhelming that I was like, okay, I'm glad I have systems in place, because I don't know how to handle this many people. So having systems in place, being consistent with a task that you're going to provide value to somebody, help you stand out amongst everyone else, and really look as a professional partner. We need to collaborate with all the realtors in our area. So I would say those things have been the most successful, and I would recommend to people.
Your personality is so cool. I mean, that's I get lucky enough to be able to interview people like yourself, and I learned so much because your passion for this, your attention to the detail for this is so cool to learn from.
Yeah, well, I'm glad I could teach you something.
Yeah, well, cool. Thank you very much for coming on as a Realtor of the Week.
It's an honor. That's so cool.
I know you and Jake have talked a couple different times, and I appreciate learning from you.
Well, you're welcome.
Thank you,
for having me on.
My Realtor of the Week. Thank you guys all very, very much. Without you guys, we don't have much, right? We need you to continue to be part of Realtor Connect. Invite your other Realtor friends. We're also on Instagram and YouTube. So this will be posted here on Wednesday. And thank you very much all for being here. Thank you, my friend, for allowing me to interview you.
Yes, thank you.